The samurai were the warrior class of feudal Japan. Their story began more than 1,000 years ago when powerful landowners needed skilled fighters to protect their lands and maintain order. These warriors gradually became known as samurai, a word that originally meant those who serve. During the early centuries, Japan was divided into many territories controlled by powerful lords. These lords relied on loyal warriors who could defend their lands from rival clans and rebellions. Over time, the samurai became highly respected for their fighting skills and their loyalty to their masters. The rise of the samurai changed Japanese society. They became not only soldiers, but also administrators and protectors of order. By the 12th century, the samurai had gained enormous power and influence. Military leaders, known as shoguns, ruled the country while the emperor remained mostly a symbolic figure. One of the most important leaders in this transformation was Minamoto no Yoritomo, who established the first shogunate in Japan in the late 12th century. From that point forward, the samurai would dominate Japanese politics, warfare, and culture for hundreds of years, becoming one of the most legendary warrior classes in history. Feudal Japan was a society built on loyalty, hierarchy, and strict social roles. At the top of this system stood the emperor, who was considered the symbolic ruler of the country. However, real political power often belonged to military leaders known as shoguns. Below the shogun were powerful regional lords called daimyo. These daimyo controlled large territories and commanded armies of samurai warriors. The samurai served their lords with absolute loyalty, promising to defend their lands and fight in times of war. The relationship between a samurai and his lord was extremely important. A samurai was expected to serve faithfully, even if it meant sacrificing his life. Loyalty and honor were considered more valuable than wealth or personal safety. Farmers, craftsmen, and merchants formed the lower levels of society. Each group had specific duties and responsibilities that helped maintain order throughout the country. One of the most influential rulers in this system was Tokugawa Ieyasu, who established a powerful government in the early 17th century that brought long periods of peace to Japan. During this time, the samurai class became not only warriors, but also administrators, scholars, and leaders within Japanese society. Samurai warriors were famous for their distinctive armor and weapons. Their equipment was carefully designed to provide protection while allowing flexibility during combat. Samurai armor was made from small metal plates connected with strong silk cords. This design allowed warriors to move freely while still protecting their bodies from arrows and swords. The armor often included a helmet with dramatic decorations, sometimes featuring horns, crests, or fierce masks meant to intimidate enemies. The most famous weapon of the samurai was the katana, a curved sword known for its sharpness and balance. The katana was not just a weapon, it was considered the soul of the samurai. Warriors treated their swords with great respect and carried them at all times. Samurai also used many other weapons. The yumi, a long Japanese bow, allowed them to attack enemies from a distance. Spears, called yari, were often used in battle formations, while daggers served as secondary weapons. Training with these weapons required years of discipline and practice. Samurai learned to strike with precision, speed, and control. Their weapons and armor were not only tools of war, but also symbols of honor, status, and tradition within the samurai culture. Becoming a samurai required years of training and discipline. From a young age, boys born into samurai families were taught the skills they would need to become warriors. Training began early in childhood. Young samurai practiced archery, sword fighting, and horseback riding. These skills were essential for survival on the battlefield. They also learned strategy and tactics, studying how to outthink their enemies during combat. Physical strength was important, but mental discipline was equally valued. Samurai were expected to remain calm even in the most dangerous situations. Fear and hesitation could mean defeat. Education also played a major role in samurai training. Many warriors studied literature, poetry, and philosophy. These teachings helped them develop wisdom and self-control. The goal of samurai training was not only to create powerful fighters, but also disciplined individuals who could serve their lords with loyalty and honor. Through constant practice and dedication, samurai prepared themselves for the challenges of both war and leadership in feudal Japan. The samurai lived by a strict moral code known as Bushido, which means the way of the warrior. This code guided their behavior both on and off the battlefield. Bushido emphasized several key values, including loyalty, courage, honesty, and honor. A samurai was expected to remain loyal to his lord above all else. Betrayal or cowardice would bring great shame not only to the warrior but also to his family. Courage was another essential virtue. Samurai were trained to face danger without fear. They believed that death in service of honor was far better than living with shame. Respect and discipline were also important parts of Bushido. Samurai were expected to control their emotions and treat others with dignity. If a samurai failed to live according to these ideals, he might choose to perform a ritual known as seppuku. This act was believed to restore honor and demonstrate the warrior's courage even in death. The principles of Bushido shaped the identity of the samurai for centuries and influenced Japanese culture long after the age of the samurai had ended. Samurai warriors served powerful feudal lords known as daimyo. These rulers controlled large territories across Japan and maintained armies of loyal samurai to protect their lands. The center of a daimyo's power was usually a massive fortified castle. Samurai castles were impressive structures, designed for both defense and administration. They were often built on hills or elevated land to give defenders a clear view of approaching enemies. Thick stone walls surrounded the castle grounds, while wooden gates and watchtowers protected the entrances. Inside the castle complex, many buildings served different purposes. They were living quarters for the daimyo and his family, barracks for samurai warriors, storage rooms for food and weapons, and administrative offices where important decisions were made. One of the most famous surviving examples of a samurai fortress is Himeji Castle. Known for its elegant white exterior and complex defensive design, it remains one of the best preserved castles from the samurai era. These castles were not only military strongholds, but also political centers, where samurai governed territories, enforced laws, and protected the people who lived under their lord's rule. Although samurai are often remembered as warriors, their daily lives were not always filled with battle. During long periods of peace, many samurai focused on duties beyond warfare. A samurai's responsibilities could include managing land, collecting taxes, and maintaining order within their lord's territory. They often worked as administrators, helping govern villages and towns. Education and culture also played an important role in samurai life. Many samurai studied literature, poetry, and philosophy. Writing poetry and practicing calligraphy were considered signs of discipline and intelligence. Some samurai also practiced meditation and martial arts to maintain both physical strength and mental balance. These activities helped them remain calm and focused, qualities that were highly valued in samurai culture. Family life was another important part of their world. Samurai families lived in modest homes near castles or within castle towns. Parents trained their children in discipline, respect, and loyalty from an early age. Even during peaceful times, samurai were always ready to defend their lord if conflict arose. Their lives were guided by duty, tradition, and a constant commitment to honor. War was a defining part of the samurai's identity. For centuries, powerful clans fought each other for land, influence, and control of Japan. During these conflicts, samurai warriors formed the backbone of the armies. Samurai battles required both courage and strategy. Warriors often fought on horseback, using bows to attack enemies from a distance before engaging in close combat with swords or spears. Armor protected their bodies while still allowing freedom of movement. Their helmets were often decorated with dramatic crests, helping warriors recognize allies on the battlefield. Large battles sometimes involved thousands of soldiers. Commanders used signals such as drums, flags, and horns to coordinate their forces during combat. One of the most famous battles involving samurai was the Battle of Sekigahara. This decisive conflict helped establish a new political order that would shape Japan for centuries. Although warfare could be brutal, samurai believed that courage, skill, and loyalty were the most important qualities of a warrior. Their reputation as disciplined fighters spread throughout history. Honor was one of the most important values in samurai culture. A warrior's reputation depended on his loyalty, courage, and personal integrity. If a samurai failed his lore or brought shame upon himself, he could lose his honor. In such situations, some warriors chose to perform a ritual known as seppuku. Seppuku was a ceremonial act in which the samurai ended his own life in order to restore his honor. Although this practice may seem shocking today, in samurai culture it was considered a demonstration of courage and responsibility. The ritual followed strict traditions. The samurai would wear formal clothing and compose a final poem before carrying out the act. Witnesses were often present to observe the ceremony and confirm the warrior's bravery. Seppuku was not only an act of personal redemption, but also a powerful symbol of the samurai commitment to honor above all else. While this practice became rare over time, it remained one of the most dramatic and well-known aspects of samurai tradition. For many centuries, samurai dominated Japanese society as warriors, leaders, and protectors. However, the world around them was changing. In the 19th century, Japan began to modernize rapidly. The country opened its borders to international trade and adopted new technologies, including modern weapons and military systems. These changes weakened the traditional role of the samurai. The old feudal system gradually disappeared, and a new national army replaced the warrior class. This transformation became official during the Meiji Restoration. The government abolished the privileges of the samurai and introduced modern reforms that reshaped Japanese society. Although the samurai era came to an end, their legacy did not disappear. The values of discipline, loyalty, and honor remained deeply embedded in Japanese culture. Today, the samurai are remembered as one of the most iconic warrior classes in history. Their stories continue to inspire films, books, and historical studies around the world.